Здравствуйте, дорогие друзья. Как всегда,
Hello, dear friends. As usual, this is our Sunday webinar together with Dr. Michael Eichmann. Good day, Boris and Michael, and I'm Simeon Vinokur. We are the instructors of the International Academy of Kabbalah, and we're continuing the topic of the principles of Kabbalah and their practice. And today we'll discuss that everything is known from its opposite, which is a very important topic in Kabbalah. As we know, everything starts with that, light and darkness. Right? The creation and the creature consist of opposite forces, systems, which is why, specifically from the oppositeness, we understand everything, which is why today we are in our world, which is completely opposite to the upper world. And specifically in superposition of these two worlds, we begin to understand everything. Because our feelings are based on those things which differ from one another. And the more differences there are, and the more they differ in qualities and quantities, and volume and so on, the deeper is our sensation. There's a huge amount of things, events that we don't notice because there are no opposites to them. For example, we don't have something opposite to the upper world. We're not opposite to it. You want to say that's darkness? No, it's not darkness. It's just an animal state. If this animal state would not be an animal state, but a spiritual state, then out of it we would be able to somehow make out and understand what this oppositeness. So why are we being pulled towards this upper world? Well, because we have a certain seed from this upper world that's remained within us, which did not totally disappear. A spark that exists within us, and it pulls us upwards. And according to this spark, we're called the embryo of the human. Okay, let's start certain definitions. The first definition is light and darkness. Can we decipher each definition? What do we understand by light is not what you understand by light. The quality of love is called light. The quality of reception up until the point of hatred is called darkness. We don't understand either that or this in our world. It's not possible to understand one without the other because we don't have a true quality of bestowal. And love, the love we have is also egoistic. It's like on the left side, which is what we don't understand. We don't have any contact with the upper world. We don't have opposite to it, hosts. But we do have a spark of hope. We do have the spark of hope. It truly is a spark. Hopes enliven us, but not more than that. Everything depends on our input into the development of the integral relationships between us in the group. Then we'll be able to attract the upper light, and it will create within us a system of interconnections between us where we will be in a state, in good and bad states, dark and light states. Hosts, when do we understand what is light? Rav, when we will understand that we're in darkness. Host, the benefit of light comes from darkness. It's a certain thing that they're not just opposite to each other, but it's necessary for there to be darkness. One is not possible without the other. Specifically, the oppositeness to darkness you see as light, host. And the fact that the Creator created us opposites to Him, isn't that the case? Here we're talking about real egoism that we need to attain. We are on a level of vegetative, still an animal, but we are not on the fourth level of human, which is opposite to the Creator. That level we have not attained yet. That is the level, the degree that we attain in the upper world as the left line, host. And in order to attain that, there's a certain principle. It's more beneficial to sit there and do nothing than And then there's opposite to that, is everything that's in your strength to do, you should do. Can you please explain what is one and what is the other? Rav, everything that does not relate to the spiritual path, everything that's not related to the spiritual path, if you have a choice not to do it, then don't do it. Just don't blow empty air. Don't do anything unnecessary. Only do that which is necessary for your life, to sustain yourself, and that's it. That is the most dependent thing. Everything else, everything intellectual and financial, other type of development, aim at spiritual development. Host, I can relate everything to the spiritual. It's a very relative term. Ralph, you can turn it however you want. That's not the point. The point is you need to evoke benefit from this, how to use it. Host, there are two basic definitions, the creator and the creature. The creator is the ruler, and the creature is what was creator. Let's review those. We have a lot of beginners. Okay, Rav. Initially, there is no creator. There simply exists a force without a body, obviously, without a name, without any kind of a quality that we can determine somehow. It simply is not defined and has no relation to us. This force is called atzmuto, which in translation means something that exists on its own. In other words, upper root, you can even say that it's a root that it relates to us, because a root is something from which something else grows. It's not a thought, even. It's something that we cannot even touch, we cannot examine it. We deal only with our correction. After our correction, whatever we'll attain afterwards, I don't know. So, this initial force is called atzmuto, meaning he by himself. This force existing by itself. Second, this atzmuto, it gives birth to a quality of bestowal and love. And this quality of bestowal and love in relation to us, we call the creator. But this quality of love and bestowal exists only in the measure that this measure gives birth to the creation. And in relation to the creation, we can determine it as such. It doesn't exist all by itself. In other words, there cannot be a creator without the creature, or the creature without the creator. They appear simultaneously out of the atzmuto. Light and desire that exists within it. Desire is called the creature, and light the creator. The desire of the creator is to bestow, to fulfill, to love, and so on and so forth. The desire of the creature is to receive, to be loved, to fill itself, everything opposite. These two mutually opposite forces begin to develop. The first its development are the 4 stages of, as it said, direct light. That's when the upper light gives the giver, it begins to develop a desire to receive. 4 stages of the direct light. Then there occurs their final development in this last 4th stage of Malchut, and then after that the worlds develop. The world of Adam Kadmon, which is the form of the future man, then the worlds of Atzilut, Briya, Yetzirah, and Asiya. In total 5 worlds, aside from this initial world of infinity. You all have studied this in our first lectures, probably, in campus. Host, the goal of this weakening of the light, this filtration, Rav, together with the weakening of the light, a desire is developed. That's how they act. The less there is light, the more there is desire. Desire completely engulfs the light, and with its help it develops up until our world, when there occur all kinds of different events and actions, when this desire that reaches our level, it breaks and then begins to evolve according to this light. We, materially, that we exist now in this way, we don't actually exist. It's our incorrect perception that we exist in this way that we exist now. In other words, we actually don't exist. Nothing, still vegetated, an animal, exists. It only exists as an illusion in our senses, as was noticed correctly by Engels. He said that matter is something that's given to our senses, and that is truly so. Because aside from our sensations, we cannot say that there is such thing as matter and that anything exists. We interpret everything within us. Host, so a simple question. Have we agreed that this reality exists? Rob, we have a certain commonality of our sensations, which is why we don't even need to agree on anything. We exist in a certain state when we can contact each other thanks to this commonality of our senses. We often don't understand each other because aside from this commonality of sensations, we also have desires and thoughts, and that's why we create all kinds of definitions and explanations of what we see and feel and perceive. But in general, we are in certain agreement because of this. Host. So there exists a table, and we all agree that there is a table. Rav says, even though it doesn't exist. In our sensations, in our perception, it exists, right? So we agree that it exists, exactly the way it is. Initially, from the very beginning, we have these natural agreements because we're created according to one principle. Host. Then I'll ask this question. So what does exist? Let's say, you say in spiritual reality this doesn't exist, but what does exist? Rav. Lately, I speak with a lot of philosophers and physicists. Recently, I spoke with Professor Zhdanov from Academy of Sciences on Friday. This was our second discussion. He was a very, very developed and smart person from the point of view of Kabbalah. I would say he's advanced as well.
И он вполне это осознает.
Да, вполне осознает.
And he realizes this, right? Yes, he realizes this completely, that our sensations, that our physicists, all physicists say that our entire universe, everything that exists around us are waves. It's a complex of waves. It's not matter. Host, physicists say that when we look at these electrons, we see them as parts, as matter. But they behave as waves when a person does not observe them. Is that correct, Rob? Yes. It depends on whether we observe them or not. So you're asking if we change this with our observation? These waves outside of us are also us. It's all in relation to us. There's no such thing as us sensing, feeling outside of us, external to us. Host, so why isn't this learned at schools? People would look at this completely differently. Rob, I don't know. Well, when we were kids, we learned that the universe exists infinitely, and it's infinite in its size. Today, science contradicts this and gives us a certain timeline for existence of the universe and certain sizes, and there's also talk about different universes. We constantly are evolving. Host, has this knowledge somehow changed the relationships between people? Rav, it doesn't matter to people what scientists say. The main thing for me is what's in my stomach and how I feel, how I will pass my free time. I'm a simple animal organism that needs to survive and eat. Host, there are questions that are coming in. Can a Kabbalist change reality with his views? Rav, a person can change the reality that he's in because the entire reality completely depends on him, in any case, from his qualities. Today, we are, let's say, within certain qualities, with certain frameworks, which is why we have a certain commonality, common perception of this world, our concerns, which is why there's language, there's communication, but in general, a Kabbalist, when he begins to attain the creation, he sees it completely differently. And together with this, his bodily sensation through his five senses remains the same as everybody's. How do we unite two contradictions? On one hand it exists, on the other hand it does not exist. Rav, you have two senses through which you sense. And at the same time, I don't exist, right? Rav, yes. You can see from, let's say, look through a blue glass or through a red glass. Is there a different type of perception? You don't know. I love talking to you, Rav. This duality of reality, this split of the human occurs. It's a dual reality, isn't it, Rav? It's not such a duality in our world like a split personality when he doesn't know who he is and where he is. Kabbalah does not exist. Host. So this love and hatred exists together, the two oppositeness, right? Rav. In Kabbalah, when we perceive two opposite qualities within us, then we actually rise above these two qualities in the middle line, as it says, and we perceive that which happens, depending on which degree we're in, on this ladder of attainment. But in general, we begin to feel, not from our point of view, but due to this duality, we begin to feel from the point of view of the Creator. Host, Max is asking, what is considered the inner common platform between people so that there would be an opportunity for a common sensation and concern? Rav, in our world, there is such a thing as commonality. We sense, we have language, we have all of this. In the spiritual, though, the Kabbalists have this as well. At every degree, when we attain, there's a quality that this degree has. Each one that attains this degree attains these qualities and sees what other Kabbalists see on this degree. This is written in Shamati. There is an article, what is it called, Attainment of Reality, that each one that attains a certain spiritual degree, he sees what other Kabbalists saw when they attained this degree. Yes, more questions? Yuri is asking, how from the force that only has one quality can give birth to two opposite forces? Rav, this occurrence of an opposite quality of love and bestowal to give birth to something opposite is the only thing that the Creator did. It's called the creature. And everything else is development of these two forces. So the occurrence out of nothing from the quality of bestowal and love, the occurrence of an opposite to it quality, an opposite quality, as it is that special action, unique action, that is called the Creator. Question: why understanding can only be done from the opposite why does there need to be a complete oppositeness? Rav, we gradually reveal this oppositeness upon 125 degrees, which divides further and further. So constantly when we begin to ascend on the rungs of the ladder of the spiritual world, these scissors widen more and more. The difference between plus and minus becomes larger, which is why they're attained not in a larger amplitude, but each one of those positive and negative qualities, the quality of love and bestowal, and then the quality of hatred and darkness, you see within them all kinds of different variations, which gives us the richness of perception of all parts of creation, not only in our world, but also the specific definitions of sensations of the upper world, the suppositeness of qualities, gives us an opportunity to examine the Creator. What is the upper world? Examination of the Creator, to become similar to Him, and in this way, to examine His similarity within us. We cannot examine anything that's outside of us. We need to receive the quality of the Creator, and when we adapt this quality within us, become similar to Him, then we can examine them. Host, please tell me, this oppositeness, plus and minus, good and evil, can we say that it gives a certain volume where this whole spectrum of sensations is shown to us? In our world, a person feels either love or hatred. He cannot be in both at the same time, which is why our world is very flat. It doesn't have volume. Can we say this? Which is why the Creator has created us opposite to Him. Rav, this oppositeness within us needs to be expressed. We begin our oppositeness to the Creator with the fact that we begin to attract the upper light upon us, and this upper light begins to develop within us good and bad qualities in parallel. Host, what is the purpose in this unconscious development, 10,000 years of developing humanity? Why couldn't it have been created right away? Rob, no, this very large period of time, as it seems to us. The humanity exists this many years, the universe exists this many years, the still vegetative and animal nature, they exist also only in order to give us an opportunity to decipher the difference between the light and the dark on these levels. On the animal level, as let's say, in the still level, as let's say, in the level of atoms, molecules, and vegetative, on the level of biology and zoology, components of nature, and then on the level of the human, the level of our world, in psychology, not only in physiology, but also in psychology of the man. This is all necessary, and after that, a person advances towards a point when he merits to examine the spiritual world. Host, this definition of oppositeness is unclear. Why, if we're not opposite to the upper world, then why are we not in harmony with it? Rav, in order to be in harmony with the upper world, you need to be actually opposite to it and similar to it at the same time. But if we don't relate to it in any way but exist below it, we don't have any qualities from the upper world. Host, in other words, we need to first feel that we're opposite to it, Rav, opposite to it, and then correct us to become similar to it, and then being two qualities at the same time. So the sensation that we're opposite to it comes from the spark that we have. As soon as it begins to develop, this process starts. Rav, yes. Okay, so this principle of the minimal in the group is 2, but a perfect society is 10. How to understand this, Rav? How to understand this? Well, it could be a million or it could be 2 people. We need to develop within our sensation such an interaction between us as if there are 10 of us. We need to express 10 qualities, mutually opposite and similar specifics within our common desire to receive, to enjoy. So, on one hand, it's not enough. It's enough for me to have one other friend, so that between us we could somehow find contact between us and attain certain interaction between us and reveal all aspects of the upper world on one hand, but while also revealing these aspects of the upper world, we will still create between us a complete similarity to 10 Sfirot. Host. So I understand that there needs to be I, myself, and someone opposite to me. Let's say a person with whom I can attain this quality of the Creator through these 10 filters. So why are there so many people in the world, Rav? So that we could attain this full similarity to the Creator. But 2 is enough. Rav, well, that's how it was initially created, Adam and Eve. So it needs to be also an opposite sex? Rav, yes, of course. So why we don't need so many congresses and people? Rav, well, they couldn't deal with this apple, just 2 of them. So you had to, the snake needed to interfere. Host, well, let's say I want to reveal the Creator. So it's enough for me to find the one other person and for us to isolate ourselves and attain the Creator? Or so why do we need to aspire to all these thousands of people? Rob, it's because it's not enough for us. We have developed spiritual in such a way that we need to create around us such a community, such an incubator that will support us constantly and direct us. Also, it's not enough to have one person next to me, because it definitely will fall out and get into an argument with him, because my ego will not give me an opportunity to be in correct relationship with him, which is why there's nothing you can do here, host. So a large group is given to us so that we could not run away and keep to a certain direction towards the goal. Host, we have a large group. I can speak with Senya, let's say, once every few years. I can find for myself those who I'm comfortable with, Rob. But still, you're in a certain common stream until you understand that you need to be together with someone in very serious and tight relationship in order to advance forward. Host, okay, there's a question with a lot of question marks. If there's no table and I don't exist that senses, and there's no senses at all that exist, Ralph, let him put 1,000 of question marks here. I don't exist either in the state that I think I exist in. This is written in this book Shamati as well. Even though I feel myself as I exist in the body, that's actually not a reality that exists. This is a purely subjective sensation that exists. As soon as I begin to sense the upper world, then this perception changes immediately. Host the question. So what is this I of the human that feels its existence, Raf? It's a small ego that feels itself and behaves in such a way. Once you change it, you will begin to feel within it not only quality of reception, but also the quality of bestowal. Then within this corrected ego towards bestowal, you begin to feel what truly exists outside of you. Outside of you. This is the most important thing. Now I analyze and feel only that which enters into me, into my body, sight, taste, smell, and so forth, and so forth. Only that. When, as soon as I will receive additional qualities, then I would feel more within myself. Let's say as a snake, as a bird, as a fly. But how to feel that which others don't feel, but to feel that which is outside of me, not an intake, but an outtake, as if I'm outside of my body. Not that I would pull my eye further away from my body, but to feel truly that which is outside of all of my senses, not in the way that it enters through my senses and then is digested within me, but I need to feel it how it really exists outside of me, objectively. That is what's called a spiritual perception. Host. So our eyes are directed inwards or outwards? Rav, inwards. Because I feel with my five senses only that is inside of them. Host, what is outside of me? Rav, and what is inside of me? Are you inside of me? Is this room, the studio, is it inside my head? This is something that we gradually will begin to attain. Host, we have a certain principle. There's nothing exists aside from that which the eyes of the judge see. On one hand. On the other hand, the reality does not exist. There's nothing outside of us that exists aside from light. How do you combine those two? Rav, I can combine these things for you for as long as possible, but you will not be able to combine it. If you will attain it, if you want to attain it, you need to follow one simple principle. Unite in the group, and according to Kabbalah, you begin to attain and feel others from outside of yourself, and within them, you will begin to feel the upper world. That's it. I feel myself right now. And if I exit myself and enter the feelings of my friends, then within them, I will feel as if outside of myself, the upper world, through them. This is me. And here are my friends. I try to feel my friends as if they're truly as they are. How do I do that? I place upon myself this restriction. Tzimtzum Aleph, the first restriction. Not for my sake. Aside from this, I have this quality of bestow, and then I feel each friend as if he's outside of me. This is all not very simple. Here I have a screen. I feel him. And him I feel outside of me as a spiritual entity. I feel him as a sphera. And together, all of them become a partsuf. So another person is a sort of a trigger for me to exit myself. Rav, of course, which is why we're shattered and not just one person existing within his body. It's a lot of bodies specifically made up in such a way and shattered so that we would be able to create in this way a state. And this partsuf will be filled with light. And this light will be called the Creator. The Creator. And then all of this together, the light and the Creator, except for me. Me, this animal. This is me, animal.
Вот это все будет называться.
This sum of everything will be called a soul.
То есть это как лаборатория получается? Есть я.
So it's like a laboratory of sorts. There's me, there are all these elements around me. Rob, of course, everything's around me. A few of my friends around me. I don't need anything else. And in this side of the system, I create my soul, and each one does this in relation to others. Host, I stop seeing faces. Rob, I stop seeing it. Yeah, we don't see faces anyways. Host, if I live in this body, so do I need to see other bodies? Rav, yes, so what? You don't consider them as important. Host, so you see other desires and you just begin to work with them. Rav, yeah, of course. Who needs to pay attention to the externalities of people? So, this is like, how I say this, a certain platform upon which you begin to reveal the structure of the entire world. Host, so what is there so interesting in this other state outside of me? What will I see there? Host, Rav, forces that control the entire creation, that acts across the spectrum of spiritual laws, where you see their beginnings, their actions, their consequences, this extreme logic goes through all of your desires, and your desire is fulfilled. And this desire you feel as a huge fulfillment of your eternal state.
Ну вот вопрос Игоря из Молдавии. Здравствуйте. Если в нашем мире мне вредят, я просто хочу такие уже жизненные вопросы.
Host, question. In our world, let's say there's harm that comes to me. I'm being harmed and I apply love to it, let's say. If I'm being harmed, then I need to apply love. Rav, I don't agree with this. What do you mean? If you are being slapped, then give your other cheek? No, of course no. Hit him back. You need to educate someone not to relate to others like this. So in our world, we act according to the laws of this world. Rav, what will you do otherwise? Well, you walk around him and explain to him all the laws of the universe and about spaceships, and then in the meantime he'll be hitting you in the face. This is completely, the action follows the consequence. Host, after correction, will all the illnesses and wars disappear? Rav, this according to education. All of this forgiveness is not correct. Who created this? Who made it up? These are not correct definitions, not correctly interpreted definitions. Host, so how do we apply education to those who bring you harm? How to apply this? Give us a guide, Rav. It says, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. You mean in the Torah? It's not allegorically written? Rav, I don't know allegorically or not, but that's what it says. Of course, it's allegorical, but it talks about the fact that there needs to be punishment. Look on the example of the travels of the Jews through the Sinai desert, when there were all sorts of problems and Moshe was punishing them. Where do you see all kinds of mercy here? Just simply non-stop punishments. When he has corrected them in such a way that after 40 years, all of them died, and only those that were born in the desert, they were ready to enter the land of Israel. Torah doesn't say anything about forgiveness, and you don't really see it in this world. In this world, it's just nice words and a lie. Why do we need to act like this if our nature does not really see it this way? It's probably for someone's benefit only. Host, there's a phrase to love the good and hate the evil. Rav, that's correct. That means that I react incorrectly. Yes, I need to love the good and try to somehow enlighten others to do the same and to hate the evil. But it doesn't mean that if a person is evil towards me, that means I will, in exchange, answer him with love. I will not be able to make him into a person in this way, and I actually bring him harm in such a way. He will see that for bad actions he receives a reward, and he will be twisted in his head completely. There's a private guidance and a general guidance. How do you combine these two? It's not simple. A general guidance is directed towards a nation, the world, and a private providence is directed towards community or a person, and they can contradict each other. Host, you said that Creator does not relate privately to a person, but relates to a person through the entire humanity. Rob, still it's called private providence. When Creator influences a person, or people want to influence one another, then this is called private influence. It does exist. Private, yes. If we create mutual guarantee between us, we choose to act upon our friends. I'm talking about the Creator. The Creator can influence a person privately. Rav, here we need to say the following. Creator relates to a person privately upon a person that is in a certain society. A person is an output of his environment, and Creator relates to a person inside of this environment. So, okay, host. So let's say a person consists of millions, billions of cells. The way I don't relate to a single cell within a person, the same with the Creator. He doesn't see me, he sees the entire picture, right? Rav, dear, it's not so. The system is predetermined. It's completely interconnected. It doesn't exist in such a way that you can't review all of the billion cells, which is why you need to observe a single cell. It doesn't exist. We are in an ideal world that in relation to us looks incorrect, egoistic. The whole problem with providence is to force us to reveal this ideal world. Which is why this whole influence, private influence and general influence, are connected to one another. Okay, hosts. Victor is asking, if all of this is a function of my perception, then what seems to me is evil is actually good? Rav, maybe, yes. I would say that which appears to you evil is basically good. He continues, and I don't need to give evil back, considering that my perception is tricking me. Ralph, you confuse yourself. If everything around us exists in order for us to perceive the world correctly, then there exists a certain laws of behavior. In relation to people around us, let's say people, they're not my friends according to study, I need to be very formal with them. Good day, hello, goodbye, and so on and so forth. But with my friends in the group, I need to act in the way it is written in articles about group work. I'm sure you have all these articles. There are 15-20 articles. They're not large. You need to read them and summarize the principles. And in this way, you'll know how to behave with your friends, and this web of connection, through this web of connection with your friends, you'll begin to feel the upper world through these connections. So a person comes to a state when evil doesn't exist in the world, yes? Rav, when he reveals it, then yes. But until he reveals it, then no. Question. I'm sorry, I didn't understand your drawing. So you're saying that I'm an animal? Rav, you're still an animal if you didn't even if you did understand the drawing. You'll be an animal until you enter the state of the spiritual embryo. When you begin to develop spiritually, then you come to a state of the embryo. Host, there's no insult in being an animal. All of us are born wild donkeys. Rav, what are we, kids? Getting upset at such definitions. Host, there's two definitions, spiritual and material. If I understand correctly, the material is when I care only for myself, I have desires only for myself. That's when I feel the material world. And the spiritual is when I care about others and everything else. Or is this correct to say it like this? Rav, yes, it is like that. Care for myself is the material world, corporeal world, and care for others is the spiritual world. But when I care for others, I begin to understand that this care for myself truly accept myself spiritual. Is it an egoistic definition that everything I do for myself still? You could say that this is an egoism, but an egoism that works for bestowal, which is why it's called love and bestow. But in reality, you're using your entire ego. Host, how would you determine when one person is more spiritual, another person is less spiritual? Rav, a spiritual person is called someone who works towards outside of him. When he acts in love and bestow, his actions are beneficial towards the spiritual development of humanity, not expecting a reward or benefit in return, even the sensation that he did a correct action, so that there would be no reward at all. How is this possible not to demand a reward? Rav, for that, you need to have spiritual qualities, so that you can act in a way so that you would not receive any reward from it. Aside from one thing, when you act in this way, you receive a similarity to the Creator, and then you begin to feel and see the upper world. Host, isn't that a reward? Rav, yes, but that's all seen in the qualities of the soul, not our qualities. Host, question. Until I reveal my oppositeness to the Creator, I won't be able to examine the Creator? Rav, in the measure of your oppositeness to the Creator, you will attain Him and examine Him. Yes. Host, in one of the first contradictions, we talked about necessities. There's a certain pair, a necessity and overconsumption. How can we determine what is a necessity? Rav, it's true. It's true that it's different for every person, which is why you need to determine this on your own. If you want to attain a spiritual world in your life, and you use everything for that, and everything else you use only to sustain yourself, to exist normally, not to sleep on the ground, on a street, but to have a certain necessity fulfilled, to live comfortably, then you use all your energy correctly. But only I determine this, yes? Yes, only you determine this. This is your life. This is you. Host, there are certain definitions which we see often in the book of Shamati, the left and the right line. How can we say that I fell into the left line, now I'm in the right line? Rav, these are not simple definitions. The right line, as a rule, is love and bestowal, emanation. Light left line is the ego, reception, attracting towards yourself. These two lines, they need to exist. On the interaction between these two lines is the connection with the person and the Creator built. Only according to these two lines, the correct interaction between these two lines creates a middle line. This middle line doesn't really exist. It's simply a correct correct composition of these two lines, quality of bestowal and quality of reception. Host. So can we say the left and the right line, these qualities within the person are created by the Creator? Rav. Let's say the more you give me, the more you receive. And the more I give you, I receive. We create this system between us. Host. So this middle line will be called the Creator. Rav. When we will create a proper connection between us, in these two lines, then the middle line will be called the Creator. So initially it doesn't exist, right? No. Initially, there's just two qualities, the reception and bestowal. So it's not something that's created by the Creator. No, this is the Creator himself. His revelation is built upon two opposite qualities. But these two qualities actually don't relate to him. So can he be revealed between a man and a woman? Rav. There is no such thing as a man and a woman in Kabbalah. Each one of us has the root of a woman and a man, female and male roots. Rav, in what are you a man? In the fact that you have a body of a man? So what? Doesn't matter. And same with a woman. The fact that she gives birth and feeds, nourishes. How is she worse than a man? Host, what is a man and a woman in Kabbalah? Rav, a man is a bestowing one without any relation to sex, and a woman is a receiver without any relationship with the sex. So any two objects, the creature and the Creator, or different parts, opposite parts within a creature, they can always be broken down into a male and a female part. Some objects can be male and some objects can be female. Host. So in accordance with actions, right? Right, only in accordance with action, because any object is a desire to receive, and then the measure that it expresses itself either in bestowal or reception is called the male or the female part. Sometimes it can be a man, sometimes it can be a woman. Host. So Adam and Eve is a male and female part within me. Yes, in the soul. So is there an initial root of the soul, a male and female part? Rav, yes. Male is within the Creator and female is within the creature. Host. Isn't there some sort of a seed? Because some people are born men, some people are born women. How does it happen? Rav, because coming out of the upper roots, this is how it's broken down in the animal world. But these gender differences don't really give us anything. We are entering a certain time period when there will truly when there will be complete equality in this sense. Women will be able to express their spiritual aspiration in the same way that men will be able to. So a man that was born as a man in this world, in his next life, will he also be a man or will be a woman? Or is this not like this at all? Rob, it's not like this at all. Completely not. What are you worried about? That you'll be a woman? I'm worried about something else. Ascents and descents. Can you please explain what that is? Rob, ascents and descents are always in relation to bestowal. The more bestowal is called a spiritual ascent, the regression in this quality is called a descent. So an ascent in this corporeal world is probably not an ascent, but a descent. In our corporeal world is something completely different. All right, now we'll confuse everybody. When I feel an ascent, I'm happy, I'm flying. All of a sudden, maybe I won a lottery, maybe something helped me, maybe I fell in love. You're saying that this state is not an ascent, but probably a descent. Right, most certainly a descent. And what about if I feel a descent? Ralph, it doesn't really mean anything. Everything is in relation to the quality of bestowal. If there's a greater awakening to the quality of bestowal or less. Question: what happens when you reveal negative qualities within you that you haven't seen before? How do I deal with it, Ralph? You don't need to deal with it. The Creator reveals within you. You need to bless for everything that occurs. The Creator has revealed for you your ego. He has shown you your true nature, your essence, and now you need to work with it, host. And this is what we call an ascent, right, Rav? This revelation of this state is called an ascent in the left line. In the left line. There's more ego. And now we need to work in the right line in order to balance the left, and then this left and the right perhaps can become so large in relation to one another that between them you will reveal the Creator. This quality, this upper quality that's above you, that controls you, that guides you, from which you depend completely. And then you will have a connection with it, you will be able to influence it and determine all of your future states, your destiny. We have a lot of questions on different topics. Let's do Blitz. We have a short announcement. A week ago we started a new course, Winter 2018. Those who want to register, please register. Rav, I really recommend for you not to waste this opportunity. Mock online needs to be gone through by everyone. Even if you think you have reached your limit, the systematic studies are necessary. You'll always be missing something somewhere. Question from Tanya. Is there something that doesn't relate to the spiritual path? Rav, our spiritual path, a spiritual state, we are in it until we receive an awakening towards the upper world. Why? For creation, there needed to be dinosaurs. They died anyways. Rav, we can't even imagine what else exists aside from dinosaurs. The thing is, all of these forms, these forms of the egoistic desires, large and small and so forth, that existed before the birth of the first seed of egoism, and before the development of our universe. All of this is necessary. Without it, it wouldn't be possible. Without this chain of evolution, our existence wouldn't be possible. These dinosaurs exist within us. Question. What does it mean to become similar to a friend? What if he drinks and smokes and is lazy? Rav, to become similar to a friend? It's not written anywhere. How can I become similar to him? I need to make it so that I and him would be connected in our aspiration towards the Creator, and then we will reveal Him between us. Question. What does it mean to act against the Creator in a positive sense? Rav, this positive sense means to try to bestow to Him. He doesn't have any qualities of perception, which is why there's nobody to bestow to. I need to learn the theoretical part of Kabbalah in order to correctly imagine for myself the spiritual part. Why do I need so much knowledge if I'm learning this for myself only? Rav, in order to understand how you're built, how the world is built, you're learning an ancient wisdom, and it will be useful for you in your private life, in your corporeal life, in your spiritual life. Is there a correct method to work with doubts in Kabbalah? Rav, doubts cannot really exist practically, because the most important thing above doubts is that we come to the quality of bestow, and quality of bestow and faith, as it's called, and there can be no doubts, because there we reveal the Creator, the upper light. In other words, faith in the upper world is the sensation of the Creator. It's a complete meaning of what we call faith in our world. Close your eyes and imagine that it is so. In Kabbalah, it's different. Open your eyes and begin to observe. Question from München. What is wholeness and why is it so important? Rav, wholeness? Wholeness is necessary because it means that this is the entire kli, a vessel, to the measure that you truly aspire to it, you reveal that you're more and more similar to the light. It's important to aspire towards perfection, to wholeness in every degree. Last question. How can a person know how to behave himself on a certain spiritual degree, Rav. Only together with the friends you can determine this, which is why I advise you not to try to be on your own. This knowledge will be completely useless. It will be extra weight. Try to do everything together. I'm looking at Tallinn right now, and I see a lot of women, and there's just one man, and they're drinking tea. Looks like they have very tasty sweets that they're eating. I'm very envious. I'd love to be with them now. And that's the best. Gather together. Try to support each other, to inspire one another, to inspire each other towards attainment of the Creator. And this, that little bagel, leave it for me, please. I wish you luck and a good day.